All right, let's do it live on a Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. How you living, pal?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Nice weekend. We had a football Friday. Got to see the rookies in the uniforms for the first time, which was a lot of fun. Gibby and I had a nice long trek in the back of a golf cart to be able to get out there to practice, which was lovely. And so we did.
Wait,
that.
what?
Yeah, we had to trek on a golf cart through the streets of Berea and all around.
Did you get to drive?
No.
Did you guys get to drive?
We were chauffeured by our wonderful security team here with the Browns. But that was how we had to go all the way around. We could have had a nice little stop, maybe a layover along the way with a fresh oat soda or something like that. And then we made our way into the back, watched some, and then we drove back around as well.
Do you think there is a chance that this was just security getting close to Gibby for their continuing observations of him?
I do
remember
think that
when
there
around
was something.
he was at camp.
There was something to that because clearly they were interested in his whereabouts at all times, and there was somebody who was stationed. It was like that. You remember in Star Wars when Han Solo and Chewie and Luke joins them? They're going to the forest moon of Endor on that shuttle, and he's like, "I shouldn't have come." And it's taken a long time to see if they're going to clear the code. And Darth knows that he's there, and it's all bad. And Han Solo says, keep your distance, but don't make it look like you're trying to keep your distance. That's how the security team was with Gibby. They were like lurking, but making it look like they weren't lurking the whole time.
That's what I think.
But
because they got to keep an eye on him at all times.
And the craziest part was, we'll talk about the rookies in a second, but and we're going to hear my one-on-one with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoa today.
Very excited. Very exciting.
Spoiler alert, could not be more impressed with that human being as a human being than I was after this interview. And I've done this
all-time. He's an all-time human?
As far as rookies go, I cannot recall ever being as impressed with the maturity, thoughtfulness, and almost worldliness and gets-itness of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoa. And I talked with a front office member of another AFC North team, and he's like, he asked, what I thought of the rookie camp, and I said, it's like Owusu-Koramoa is a stud. Like, you can just see the way he moves. Yeah. And then I said I got to talk to him. He goes, oh, yeah, that's a hard one. He goes, guys, one of the best players in the draft. Well, why is he there 15? Who cares? Not our problem.
Winning.
Very impressive guy. I'm excited for people to hear that.
That's great.
I'm excited for people to hear that. But, yeah, it was
that'll be very exciting.
What I was saying, the crazy part about it is the NFL's new mask mandate, or lack thereof, came down in the middle of that practice. So you're seeing all of a sudden, coaches, officials, ripping masks off left and right. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, is this mask policy? Like, it's awful lax out here. So I was kind of standing on the side, and, I had it on. And I was like, I'm vaccinated? Is this what? And then we found out literally as we walked back in the building that everybody was vaccinated in the NFL building. No masks required in the building anymore if vaccinated.
If vaxxed, you can run amok.
That's right.
Wow. That's an incredible thing. What a time to be alive. What an absolute time to be alive. And by the way, while we're on the subject of the
I feel like we're close to a real reunion. That's what I'm feeling.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Let's go.
I would say, I'm motivated. I can't wait. I would say this, that while we're on the subject of Gibby, it's the boy's birthday. It's the
yes. Happy birthday. I sent him a gift.
Happy birthday to Gibby.
Gibby, was that gift exactly what you were hoping for? Just a dancing man enjoying just being alive, the joys, the frivolity.
If I could show you all of the gifts that I've gotten today, yours might actually be considered on the not so edgy
little tame
side of things.
Tame.
On the tame things.
Kind of not surprising, to be
wow.
honest. That's news that does not strike me with great surprise.
Gibby, if you will, on this, the day of your birth, take us back to young Gibby. What was the number one, when you think of young Gibby birthdays, what was a birthday that you went, boy, Mom and Pop nailed that one, crushed it?
God.
Is there a party? Is there a gift? Is there something?
My parents were always big into the family parties. There was always a family party for birthdays.
Yep.
Whether it was my sister, whether it was me, my mom my dad, everybody always had a birthday. There was always a party. So my meal, my mom was always like, I will make you whatever you want. And I'm like,
whatever you want.
I would like spaghetti and meatballs. I was a simple man. Yep. I still am.
Yeah. You and Bootsy. That's his go-to.
Give me some spaghetti and meatballs. I don't know if there's a gift that stands out. Nothing really crazy.
Yeah.
My 21st, I'm told, was legendary, an epic night.
Wow.
I've had a couple messages from college friends of mine this morning because I was one of the last two of our giant group of friends at Bowling Green to turn 21. So it was payback time because I had always pushed everybody over the cliff. No.
Well, how could you do that? You weren't 21. How were you able to consume and purchase alcohol, Gibby?
Yeah, you got to know people.
You weren't 21.
Boy, I don't know.
You got to know people.
Nope.
Maybe
didn't happen.
Jeez, I
maybe
never had
it's
a drop of
funding
anything
through another source.
Didn't happen. By
Yes.
the way, my
Never
mom's
saw
listening. Says happy birthday, Gibby.
Thanks, Mom.
Yes.
Nana.
I appreciate you.
Old Nanu.
The official Nana of CBD
That's
weighing
right.
in. That's a very good job. That's a good job at her. On top of things.
I think that was a pretty epic night because the next day, you know, my buddies made me go around and buy them drinks like the next day because you got your ID and you're 21. And we're walking into bars. I have no interest in drinking, and people looking at me like I have three heads and going, "Oh, I remember you from last night."
Oh, I bet.
I don't even need to see your ID.
bet.
I remember you from last night.
I have a feeling Gibby's 21st at Bowling Green was a lot like Bradley Cooper in the Hangover. Like you and Ed Helms. It's just a combination. Next thing you know, you got Mike Tyson's Tiger walking around Bowling Green.
I did have Antonio Daniels' $100,000 Mercedes that he had just gotten when he'd gotten drafted in the NBA. And they tried to put me in there for him to take me home, and he was like, "You are out of your mind. I don't want that guy anywhere near my new car."
No way. No. I'm sorry. You're
I
vomit
remind him
hazard.
frequently
You're a vomit risk.
that he never helped me in my downtime.
Yeah, I'm gonna side with him there. I'm gonna side. You were a
I
known
agree.
barf risk.
It was
Yep.
I woke
Incredible
up.
flight risk.
I woke up in the front yard of our house in a brown leather recliner with a giant sign in front of me that said, "Don't feed the animals."
Oh, my God.
Hold
It's
on a
about
second.
85 degrees. I'm baking. And, by the way, there's been a couple reversal of fortunes at some point in the night. And
How's there a recliner in the front of your house?
like in the yard.
So they put that out there. They carried your lifeless body.
Yes.
Which means many people were involved in this.
Oh, 100%. It was a team effort.
Oh, no.
Don't feed. Is there a picture of this? There's got to be.
There is.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
There is.
I'd like to
Well,
see
we'll need to see that at some point.
Most
And
definitely.
that's going to need to be seen at some point.
But, yeah, from a family side of things, never even close to that crazy. But
I think what I'm going to need out of Brown's therapy is you on one of the guys from The Hangover in the next morning scene. Like, that's what I'm going to need, today for your birthday. That's going to be the gift, I think, is to get you a little something like that. That's a good job. Well, happy birthday, my friend. Hope it's a very good one, and hope all of my wishes for you come true today. Let's get into the OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine preferred copier provider, the Cleveland Browns of all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Well, Z, you went. You're on a golf cart. You're out there seeing the kids run around. What'd you see, Coach?
It was, you saw Schwartz's speed jumps out immediately. JOK, I mean, I got a chance to talk with Coach Tarver after practice. Because after I interviewed him, I was just like, I was kind of blown away. This kid is so impressive. So I went and I talked to Coach Tarver afterwards and kind of shared my thoughts. And he was like, yeah, he said he didn't make the same mistake twice. He's a film junkie. He wanted to be right about everything. You could see him just wanting it. And I think they're very excited about him. Newsom moves around like a gazelle. He very much looks like a stud. I thought, for James Hudson, what a great experience. He's the only offensive lineman in this camp. Right. You've got Callahan and Peters with you 24/7, basically, right? And they were working with him. He was he moves well, and Peters is out there getting physical. It's just cool to see, the technique stuff he's showing them with his arms and his hands and his leverage points and all that. So I think an incredible, invaluable education for him. Look, there aren't enough guys to even have a practice. So there's no 11-on-11s. There's no 7-on-7s. There's just not enough for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So at least not on Friday. So it was a lot of individual drills, and you got a chance to see guys move around. And the one thing, though, that stood out more than anything at all to me,
okay,
Togiai looks just compact and strong. Marvin Wilson looks to me, he's got like Warren Sappiness to him, where he's a little bit more round, but he moves really, really well. But if you were to say, take JOK out of it, what is the one thing that you took away from that day?
Yep.
It is that Malik McDowell is one of the most incredible physical specimens I have ever seen in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, will that translate to him being a success for the Browns?
Will.
I don't know.
Well,
but if he wants it,
I mean, he didn't forget how to play football.
If he wants it,
I mean,
and he stays in the straight and narrow, and Chris Kiffin gets his hands on him, which he did obviously at this camp. I mean, he's a legit 6'7", 6'8". Legit. I mean, he looked like an absolute giant. The last person I remember as a defensive lineman that reminded me that looked like he's built, where I say they just like a human but just bigger, it was like Mario Williams in Buffalo when I got to be that close, or like Calais Campbell. That's what he looks like. Mm-hmm. And he moves. I mean, again, I have no idea what he will be or what it means as a football player. There were no pads on. There were no offensive linemen to pass rush against. There was none of that. But you're talking about a head turner just walking. If that guy walks down the street, you're like, oh, my God. I had no idea. I was not prepared for it. No idea. And that was easily, other than Schwartz's ability to look like he is moving at, some people like to listen to podcasts at 1.5 speed. That's how Schwartz looks like when he opens it up. He looks like he's moving at 1.5 speed. And JOK just looks ridiculous. Newsom looks great. But, man, Malik McDowell looked insane. And everybody's like, wait, what? He was like a head taller than everybody.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you followed the Big Ten during that time, you are acutely aware of the comments you're making and remember him quite well. He wore number 4, if memory serves, at Michigan State, and it was an attention getter. And he was a dude on some really good Michigan State teams. The 2015 Michigan State team beat Ohio State in Ohio Stadium, prevented that Buckeye team from repeating as national champions in an ugly game, but he was a big part of that team. They made it to the playoff that year, and he was a dude up front. So there's incredible. That's what I'm saying, like making this team on that. I don't know how they're going to do that at defensive tackle.
I don't know either.
I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Squires, guy's been in the league 9 years from Alabama. Been in the league 9 years.
I know.
Making rosters
every year. I don't know how you're going to do it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I think it's going to be just ridiculously competitive at that position to try to make it. I don't know what the numbers look like. What did we have last year? Did we keep 4 of them?
Yeah, we'll keep 4, I would assume. I mean, maybe they can try to get to 5, but that's sacrificing something else. I mean, Togiai and Wilson. Togiai looks, if I were to describe the 3 of them, Togiai is strong, explosive. Mm-hmm. And again, they're not in pads, so you don't, but just watching their movements. Wilson just looks fast and nimble, agile for a big guy. And then McDowell just looks like an absolute genetic anomaly. Yeah.
That's fun. It's fun. It's going to be great to see him when the pads come on, and the competition for playing time is just not even playing time. The competition to make the team is just going to be insane because you're going to cut really good football players, and the guys that you're talking about are all either former 5-stars, and even Wilson, just to call him a former 5-star doesn't do it justice. The guy a year ago who most people had as a first-round pick. You go look at the mock drafts from a year ago. Go look at the mock drafts from when Malik McDowell was at Michigan State. Most people had him going in the top 5 in the draft, top 10 in the draft. And then Togiai, if he stays here, is probably a first-rounder. So that's what you're dealing with. And are all those guys for one spot, or three of them for two spots? How many spots do you have? Because you have established guys you feel like are going to make it. So this is going to be an absolute dogfight trying to get out of that position and make the roster. It's going to be fun. Lots to get to on this. As Z mentioned, you'll hear his exclusive one-on-one with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoa. That is coming up in about 15 minutes from now. Off and running here on a Monday edition, Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Knowing one's limit is important, whether it's a snap count for a football player or a spending limit when you're playing the lottery. So if you like to gamble, set a limit beforehand and stick to it. If you want to learn more, go to keepitfunohio.com for helpful tips on how to keep gambling fun. Our head coach, Kevin Stefanski, meeting with the media after rookie minicamp on Friday. Here are some of the highlights. Let's have a listen.
You guys are down.
That you have.
Hey, Coach, I almost didn't recognize you out there without your mask on. How good did that feel to take off?
Yeah, it felt pretty good. I agree. There were some people I didn't realize that's what they looked like.
Hey, where does your eye wander today when you're out there? I know you've got a lot to look at, and I know you guys are going through, some fundamentals and some very basic stuff, but what were you really focused on out there?
You're watching all these positions, and you're watching the coaches coach, and you're seeing these young guys take information and take coaching and apply coaching to drills. Just to come out there and see Coach Callahan and Scott Peters and Coach DeCoster all surrounding James Hudson, and they have him getting him into a three-point stance and just really the basics right now and working on the fundamentals. So it's just good to see our coaches get their hands on their guys and take them through. I mean, we walked through the drills before we did the drills. So this is baby steps, but it's important to start there with these young players. So a lot of really good technique work today.
And we noticed that Tony Fields was not out there. Can you give us an update there?
Yeah, Tony, he injured his foot. I don't know if it was a few days ago or a week ago. So he'll be out for a few weeks. Nothing concerning long term, but that's where Tony was.
Hey, Coach, you talked about the opportunity for your assistants to really get their hands on these guys. We're used to obviously seeing, 40, 50 guys at a rookie minicamp, and I'm sure as a coach, you would have liked to have more players out there, but just how much can this help these rookies this weekend, that one-on-one time? Like JOK had 3 linebackers coaches around him working with him. So how much can that one-on-one time really push the progress forward for some of these young guys, considering once the veterans come in, that one-on-one time kind of goes away?
Yeah, it was a really good teacher-student ratio out there at a few positions. So yeah, it's really important. I think those guys are lucky and they're getting some high-quality instruction from the guys. And to your point, there's one guy in line. So you really slow down and you focus on that rep, and then you take a couple seconds off and you do the drill again. So it really slows you down. It doesn't look like any other rookie minicamp that I've certainly been a part of, but that's okay. We really are getting a lot out of it.
The last time that I remember talking to you, you said that this season doesn't pick up where last season ended. How do you, especially as there's all the external hype and excitement for the season, how do you drive that home besides just the words of that? Is there anything you do that makes it clear that last year doesn't mean anything this year?
I don't think it's hard. I think our players are smart enough to realize that. So I think one way, like I said earlier, Aditi, is you go back to the beginning and you install plays that the guys have heard already, but you dig into the minutia of them. And that's part of being a pro, is not getting bored. So we will start back at square one, and we've done that to a great extent with some of our meetings that we've had with the veterans to this point. But I just firmly believe that you got to go back and reinforce that foundation. Whether you feel like you build a foundation or not, you definitely have to go back and reinforce it year in and year out.
Kevin, JOK, you loved his speed and we're fine with his size. Do you see him as a player that would add weight over time?
I think he could, Tony. He's young. A lot of these guys, we'll get them in our program. And
30.
Katie Messick, as our dietitian, our strength staff, our high performance staff, will look at each of these guys and figure out what the appropriate number is for them to weigh, what the appropriate dietary program is, if you will. So it's individualized for each of those guys, but JOK in particular, I'm comfortable with where he is, and I know he'll continue to grow just because he's a young player.
You're up.
Yeah, I don't think there's probably one of the biggest changes in football in the last 20 years is strength and conditioning diet in college kids. Like it used to be when you got to the pros, like you'd put on weight or you'd put on muscle because now you're a professional. And JOK played at Notre Dame. Like the diet he was on at Notre Dame, the strength training regimen he was on at Notre Dame is every bit what anything the NFL could offer. And honestly, because it's a 24/7 monitoring, in many instances it's better because they eat every meal at every facility. They eat exactly what's designed for their body. Yep. They work out because they have to all the time. The pros, a lot of it's on you. In fact, a lot of guys will say, and there was some funny stuff with Najee Harris that I saw over the weekend as well, over in Pittsburgh, but a lot of guys will say all of a sudden, what am I supposed to do with all this time? Like when you're in college, every minute's accounted for all season long. Like they've got you locked up. So the guy, like JOK, so all of a sudden he's like, oh, now I'm a pro. This is what weightlifting is. No, he's been doing that at Notre Dame.
Of course.
Like he's ready-made. That's what they do.
And you'll hear from him in a few minutes, but what he said about now that I'm a full-time football player, I have more time to watch film. I mean, this guy is like, he's like, now everything I can do can become my lifestyle, is to be the best that I can be. I love that. I love that about him. But you're right. These guys are not strangers to any of it. It's now the opportunity you have to take it to another level. And, the Browns have a tremendous strength training staff here. He's going to get exactly what he needs. But I don't know. I didn't see one thing come out that said he looked small. When he's in the pads, he looks great. He looks great.
He's the same size as Darius Leonard. He actually weighs a little more. And Darius Leonard played last year between 218 222. He's 225, 220.
Yeah, and he, by the way,
same.
Was, as a rookie, was first-team All-Pro. I mean, he's been a stud. Nobody's ever questioned his size before.
Yeah. The game has changed at that position especially, and what is required of players is different. I mean, Levon Kirkland's not walking through the door, which is kind of why, when you think about Zaven Collins, like I was a little – everybody kept mocking him to us, but I just kept thinking to myself, what do you do with somebody who's 260 pounds?
They're playing him they're playing him at middle linebacker next to Simmons. Is what they said.
I know. I saw that. I don't know what the heck is going on there, man.
Me neither.
I saw that. Like him and Simmons are going to play next to each other and just kind of run around. I don't understand it. I'll tell you what. You give me 225, 220 all day long at linebacker. Can you run? Yeah. Go tackle in space. That's the position. There's only two teams in this league who are going to pound. Really, Tennessee is the only one who's really going to pound you physically, and that's something where you have to make sure that you have enough guys who can withstand that. And I think New England's going to try to do that with Cam and their running backs. But everybody else in the league is spread you out in space.
Correct. And what you need is to make sure when you have linebackers like that, you've got to have the guys up front, they allow them to run free. And so you've got to have a guy like a Billings or like a Tommy Togiai who can eat up some space in the middle of your defense, occupy a couple of blockers so that those guys are able to run free. And listen, it's not the same where you had to be able to take on a blocker. Now you can slip blockers. You can go around blockers. You can beat them to the spot with your foot speed. So there are a lot of different ways to do it, and I would guarantee it's fine. And Dan, I think the Patriots got the two tight ends so they can try it at least, and that's why they drafted Mac Jones, to get back to working the middle of the field, quick passes, getting the ball out and using that as an extension of their ground game. But with Cam, you're right. They're going to have to, I think, run it a little bit and be physical. But I'll take that all day long. I'll take that all day long because teams, when you're not explosive, it just requires a lot of plays. And when the field gets more compressed, it becomes harder and harder. And, we've seen the Browns last year due to, a little bit of talent deficiency and scheme-dependent talent deficiencies. We saw them turn into, in many games, a bend but don't break defense that's going to try to do everything their darndest to hold you to 3. Get a sack on a third down. Get a holding call on a third down. Get something that ends the drive, and you have to settle for 3 or, a punt if it's before that. But now they've got the opportunity with the personnel, I think, to be more of an aggressive defense. But it's very hard to just matriculate the ball down the field and have 10-play drives over and over and over and over again. Chunk plays, there's a reason why chunk plays, explosive plays matter. It's a reason why they are a priority for very smart teams. And the analytics would say if you out-explosive play and are even in the turnover battle, you're going to win more often than not. That's just it. That's what the NFL's about. Yeah. Speed, space, explosiveness.
Yep, that's it. This is going to be a real treat. Z went one-on-one with JOK. You will hear that interview coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. When you're dedicated to bringing the best value to your customers, you've got to do a little work. Northeast Factory Direct was founded on the principle that quality shouldn't have to cost a ton, and they prove it every day. They keep the overhead low. They buy by the truckload. They pass the savings on to you, the customer. So when it comes to mattresses, well, let's just say they outdid themselves. They searched the entire country, find the best factory, the best warranties. Now they have the latest technology in mattresses for a fraction of the cost. You win. Northeast Factory Direct, they've got you covered. King, queen, full, twin, bunk bed mattresses, box springs, and more. Unlike ordering online, though, you actually get to try it before you buy it. How about that? Check them out. West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia. You can shop them online anytime at northeastfactorydirect.com. Speaking of shopping and landing it big, we did. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoa coming in the second round, far later and far more beneficial to us than you ever could have dreamt. Z goes one-on-one with our new linebacker.
Very happy to be joined.
You guys are down.
Backer Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoa, fresh off the field after your first rookie minicamp practice, your first NFL practice as a Cleveland Brown. How did it feel to get out there?
Yeah, man, it felt great. It's a monumental moment, finishing my first NFL practice. A lot of details, a lot of information, but overall, man, it was great.
And what did you think when you finally put that uniform on? Did that make it very real to you that you were now a Cleveland Brown here?
Yeah, it made it very real. When I got drafted, it was really real.
Yeah.
But to be actually, to put on the gear, to put on the cleats, and to put on the issue gloves and things like that, the helmet, it's a certain pride that comes with that. So, yeah.
So one thing that was pretty cool, you're out here at rookie minicamp, and with the injury to Tony, you're the only linebacker. So you've got Coach Tarver, you got Coach Bloom, basically having your own private linebacker clinic with them. What was kind of that like today?
It was just that. It was definitely a clinic. Like I said, a lot of information, a lot of details, a lot of things, a lot of corrections, a lot of things that were thrown at me. But I'm ready for it. And, one of the coach principles is, really to embrace the suck. And, that's something that, I have to abide by. That's something that I have to, ultimately cultivate myself into, to be able to embrace those things that are uncomfortable, to feel comfortable in the uncomfortable. That's something that, I really wanted to develop in. And I think that's something that, I did good today.
Look, no doubt you were in the place closest to the media where we got to stand and watch today, and got to watch you go through kind of your run fits, and then obviously doing some coverage drills as well. But, don't you feel like having this opportunity where it is just you getting those coaches, the notes on every single rep, all eyes are on you? This is going to give you, I think, a nice kind of advantage or at least jumpstart into the program as you get ready for this full offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to get the reps in, get the, like I said, the reps in that I need in terms of watching, everything go by, in terms of watching the offense and how things are going with the scout offense, in terms of, getting those calls in to be able to break the huddle and things like that. So, I'm not sure if the will or the mic caused the calls, but today I got that opportunity. So I think it's definitely something that'll give me a head. And, I'm looking forward to whatever it brings.
What's kind of the studying process like for you? Because I'm sure there's new terminology. There's probably some new techniques, some new responsibilities from Notre Dame. What's kind of that learning process been like for you so far?
Yeah, a lot of techniques, whether it's flashcards. I just, ordered some flashcards yesterday to be able to write the calls on there. A lot of film, a lot of writing the same things down over and over and over to be able to get those things in the mind. And ultimately, walkthroughs are something that's really huge in terms of developing the actual feel of the progression. So.
By the way, you got good hands. If I took anything away watching you run, they were throwing you had 1,000 pick sixes today, which is always a nice thing.
Thousands of joys. Yeah, absolutely. I think Coach Bloom threw one down to the ground one time, and I had to go get. No, I'm joking, but yeah, appreciate you. Thank you.
Was it kind of fun to come in yesterday? You had been here right after you were drafted. I remember you doing the video on social media for everybody out on the fields. Now you're back out there with your rookie class. What was yesterday like coming into the building with all your teammates now and getting to meet everybody and say, all right, we're coming in like a recruiting class kind of. We're the new class here with the Browns.
Yeah, it was much love. It's always much love on the first day. Nobody's sore. Everybody's kind of happy to be there. Everybody has a positive attitude. The coaches are welcoming you, glad to see you, and it was really, something that I've never felt before in terms of of course, walking into an NFL locker room, walking into something, with the guys that have come from the same place as me in terms of being a rookie, in terms of just leaving college. And we have some few veterans here, I believe. But ultimately, man, it was much love. Much love.
And can you walk us through yesterday? You come in, sure there's some testing, some meetings, you go to the equipment room, you're finally going to get as you said, your team issued gear and all that stuff. What was kind of yesterday like for you?
Yeah, yesterday was very busy, a lot of things. But time goes by fast when you're having fun, is the saying. So, it was kind of quick in the scheme of things, being able to try on, the equipment, being able to do the physicals, being able to just do the measurements and things. It was a lot of things, but, in the cusp of it, that you're, just on the brink of, fulfilling your dreams. So, it's definitely something that went by fast and, ultimately something that, it went by and I loved it. So.
What was kind of going through your mind getting ready for that first practice? And then how would you say you did coming out of it?
Yeah, what was on my mind was just, keying in and executing. I think executing was a big thing that was on my mind. If I was to choose one word, execution was definitely something I was trying to key in on while I was, walking out there, while I was, 30, 40 minutes prior, making sure I had all the checks, making sure I had all the fits and the things that I had to do, making sure I stretch, making sure my body feels good as well as I'm going out there. So it's a lot of things that go into play coming into the first NFL practice, and afterwards, I feel great because, the things that are saying is don't make the same mistake twice. And, that's something that I didn't do. So, I'm glad that I didn't make those same mistakes twice. I was able to correct those things that I did do wrong. And I'm glad that I, got some things right the first time. So.
I got to tell you, I've fortunately I've been with the Browns. This will be my 9th season with the team. So I've talked to a lot of rookies that have come through. You're incredibly mature. And I feel like you talk like a coach already. Is this something that has always been kind of a staple of your football game? Because when you watch you play with incredible passion, incredible physicality, incredible precision. But hearing you talk, it's very much like you're already mastering the cerebral part, which is, I think, probably in many cases the steepest learning curve for a lot of the rookies that come in the league. But you certainly seem to have that in spades.
Yes, sir. And to God be the glory in that case. But, in the theory of it all, everybody's, mentality is kind of based off of their foundation. And my foundation was, spiritual. My foundation was mature. I had to grow up fast. And in terms of, that transition to college, Coach Lee, Clark Lee, I think this thing keeps buzzing. But, Coach Clark Lee was huge on just making sure those guys develop correctly in terms of their mental capacity and, their mental stamina. And that was something that was huge in terms of learning the smaller things within the scheme of the defense, the smaller things within the scheme of life outside of football. Yeah. So, and everything that you do outside, translate on the field. So like you do one thing, you do everything. So.
I love that answer. And I'm sure Coach Tarver and Coach Woods have already said to you, look, when we know your physical skills are there. So when you get the mental side of this down and we know you're going to be in the right place, the right time, that's the fastest way to get on the field, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's true.
What's it been like with Coach Tarver and kind of getting to talk to him and his experiences around the league and all the things that he's accomplished?
Mm-hmm. Well, he is all about juice. He's all about, doing it over and over. He's about repetition. He's about perfection. And, I think we match, really good because I am also about perfection. I'm a perfectionist. He's a perfectionist. And we always want to get those things right. So whether it's extra meetings, whether it's, us going over the smaller details of, the scheme, whether it's making a constant effort to do things over and over and over to make sure that we get those things right. And I think, with him being my coach, it's giving me an edge as well in terms of the other linebackers, within the country. So
I feel like you love the work of it, and then getting to go on the field is the fun, right?
Yeah, that's the embrace. That's embracing the things that some may not even like. Some may not like practice. I come from Bethel High School where Allen Iverson,
practice.
Some may not even like practice, but it's something that makes you better. It's something that is the key part in terms of that transition to the game, and that's something that I embrace.
Well, I got to tell you, I've really enjoyed talking with you, and I did the night of the draft. You could feel your passion. You were throwing out smart, tough, and accountable. I won't forget that, the 3 pillars, as you called them.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think it's exciting. I'm sure you couldn't help but notice that, Coach Woods and Coach Stefanski were watching you a lot out there. But, you are somebody that at Notre Dame was counted on for huge things. Is it nice to know that they're looking at you as somebody who can be a contributor and really play a big role for the Browns, soon?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I did feel a lot of eyes out there.
Oh yeah, there were.
I won't even lie. Like, I was picking to the side and I'm looking. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, but it's something that's second nature in terms of the attention. It's something that's second nature coming from Notre Dame.
Sure.
Coming from somewhere that football and basketball and athletics is something that's held to a high standard. But it's always about the process. Not necessarily about the results. So in terms of me doing those things. Me doing the extra things that'll propel me, even with the coaches watching, even with, when some don't watch, is what, character is, doing those things right when nobody's watching. But when they do watch, making sure you do it right as well. So, it's a happy medium for sure.
I'm sure he won't tell you this because he wants you to work all the time, but I feel like, and sometimes I'm talking to a mini Kevin Stefanski. That's exactly the process, a lot of the things that you say. So look, You're certainly well on your way from that standpoint. It is great talking with you. I'm sure you have felt the passion of our fans here. There's passion about Browns football, as I'm sure Notre Dame fans are about the Golden Dome and and everything about that football team there and the pride that they have for that. So, what's something though, take football out of it. Forget, I know you're going to work hard. That's obvious. I know you're going to be mature. You're going to approach this all the right way. What's something though about you that you think is unique to you, or maybe something that is really important to you that you would want our fans to know about you that is beyond football?
Okay, something that's beyond football. I like studying different cultures, different religions, different spiritualities. It's something that's interesting to me because I'm interested in people, and it also translates to football in terms of relatability, in terms of adaptability, and knowing where people are coming from, and knowing why he's saying it like that, or knowing why he's moving like that, or why he's acting like that. So I think the important thing in life, is people. So that's something that I would like the fans to know in terms of my perception to the world is I'm nobody that tries to throw my
30.
I'm interested in learning different people. So
I understand the human experience and the human connection. I am significantly older than you, Jeremiah, and I'm still trying to figure it out myself.
We all are. Yeah, we all
are.
Right.
That's one of the things we can all learn forever. Well, listen, absolute pleasure to talk with you. Great seeing you out on the field. I know that's where probably your happy place, and certainly it's going to be a happy place for Browns fans to see you out there. So best of luck. Keep it up, and looking forward to seeing what you can do here for this team. Yeah. What you bring not only on the field, but I think in the locker room, you'll be a powerful influence as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Much love, man. Thank you.
You're up.
It's interesting, as he said, it's all about the process. And then I wrote it down as he said it. And as he got an answering it, you said, I feel like I'm talking to a mini Kevin Stefanski. That is what it sounded like.
Yeah.
It was so much about the things that matter to them. You could understand, when you go back and watch that episode of Building the Browns, and you see Stefanski's face when they got him, and you go, oh, I get it, because they've done their due diligence on him. They know what he's all about. He fits exactly what they're looking for from not only a talent standpoint, but from a culture standpoint. It lines up perfectly.
It does, and that's why he's just such an impressive guy, and you could see why, not in addition to the player, why the Browns were also so excited to have him, the man, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoa, in our locker room, in our organization. And I again, this is my 9th season, so I've talked to basically every rookie we've drafted in that period, at the time of their draft, at their rookie mini camp, all of them. He is as impressive a person and as mature a recent, as a rookie of really, I can't remember ever having that feeling coming out of it. That's not to say we haven't drafted a ton of incredibly impressive and quality people. Christian Kirksey comes to my mind from when I interviewed him as a rookie out of Iowa. But there's something about him. And I think that the Browns got very, very lucky that things fell the way that it did, and that they were able to get Greg Newsome, who is impressive in his own right, along with Owusu-Koramoa. It is really he's a kind of an incredible kid, I would say, an incredible kid, and you almost forget talking to him that he is, that young.
Yeah, And you have a, I think it's one thing, Baker was such a known commodity when you drafted him. He was such a force of personality. He was, from that standpoint. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoa kind of came out of nowhere this year. He was a guy who, over the course of this year, turned into this type of player, and so we haven't heard from him as much. I mean, Baker was such a known commodity by the time we drafted him, by the time we got him into the building. Jeremiah, we're learning about him now, and that was great. It's good to be able to do that. A couple of things around the sports world. I want to get your I did not even – Gibby put this in the rundown. I didn't even realize it was this week. The PGA Championship is this week?
Yeah. PGA Championship is this Sunday, or starts Thursday.
Where is it?
This weekend.
Where are they playing it?
I saw the picture. It's somewhere. Are they in Kiowa? Is that right? Okay. Yep. Kiowa. It looks
this thing
immaculate.
Well, I'm sure it is. I mean, that's a beautiful place to be. I don't know if I'm a fan of this now, this time of year, in May. I mean, there's nothing that will keep me from it. I'm just so programmed for so many years of this being an August thing in the middle of, NFL camps and all of that, and it was just like something that was there at the end of the year. And now you're talking about a middle spring, middle of spring major.
They want April, May, June, July, because you got Father's Day, U.S. Open, and then now I kind of like the fact that the Open Championship is now the final major of the year.
I love that.
Because it is quite prestigious. The PGA always kind of felt to me like it was just random.
It feels that way still to me.
Agreed, but I'd rather have the random in between. You got the Masters and the Open are now your bookends. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe I'll get used to it over time, but it is weird to me that basically I will unplug from the golf season entirely by the second week of July.
Yep.
Like I'm out. That's it for me. I'm done. And I would have paid attention to the PGA. I mean, I'll have to get used to this. I have a feeling I may like it because there's not a whole lot going on right now. So I think that you could end up liking it. But I would also think it would take out of rotation some of those Northeastern courses.
I feel
Boston, the New Yorks.
Maybe, but by late May, you're feeling pretty good. Mid-May, you're feeling decent.
We had snow last weekend.
And then now we're going to have 80 degrees this week. I mean, who knows what's going on?
I don't know. You're not going to be at Hazeltine for the PGA. You're not going to be at Medina, I don't think, for the PGA.
Those are U.S. Opens.
I mean, I think
they'd say those are U.S. Opens anyway.
Well, you would know, but I mean, those type of places would be out of the mix, I would think.
Sure.
You're going to have to be south a little bit to make sure that you have some good weather for it.
I mean, you're not going to Wisconsin.
No. No, you're not going to Kohler.
Yeah.
No. Aaron Hills and those would be.
I think the PGA finally said, "Hey, like the NFL is going to trump no matter whatever we try to do. So let's just move this up."
Yeah, it's a lot of golf. I mean, and then you've got. So what you'll have it'll be 2 weeks, and you'll play Muirfield, and then you'll have U.S. Open. So it'll be every 2 weeks. It'll be kind of a big deal. So, we'll see. That's interesting. I had forgotten it was this week. So
I didn't know it was either until I saw an ad for it this morning. I was like,
that was it. Yeah.
Oh.
The other I was going to ask you guys, did you guys see? So the NBA play-in games are this week, right? They play in. So the Lakers are playing the Warriors. I don't think anybody would argue that those are two of the five most attractive franchises for the non-NBA hardcore fan to watch would be those two. That they are two of the five marquee franchises.
So these are just one games? It's a one game?
So it's a one game. It's a one game. If whoever wins between the Lakers and the Warriors is in as the 7 seed.
Yep.
The loser has to play the winner of the 9-10 to get in. So the 9-10 is Memphis and San Antonio in the West. But Lakers, Warriors, win and you're in, lose and you have to play another game to get in, right? So obviously Lakers, Warriors is a pretty big deal, right? They are playing Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
What?
They're playing Wednesday
Why
at 10
is it
o'clock.
then primetime? Steph and LeBron?
So
that's ridiculous.
Memphis is playing San Antonio at 7, and the Lakers and Warriors are playing at 10 o'clock.
They should be playing at 8:30, so it's a 5:30 start, and they should just be doing it on a different day. Or put them head to head. I mean, nobody's watching the other one anyway. It doesn't matter.
tell the eastern coast of the United States of America that you're going to get to watch a half of this?
To not watch LeBron, Steph? Steph Curry's playing ridiculous.
In a one-off.
Let's go,
Winners
Warriors!
Oh, my gosh, Gibby. God.
Let's go.
Wow. Just vitriol.
I mean, that's a heel turn.
That is.
That's an incredible heel turn out of you.
Stunning.
I hated that team.
To go for Steph. I mean, jeez. God. You like Steph more than
For
LeBron
Stinks
now.
Curry? Come on.
Can't have that.
Gibby.
Let's
I don't know.
go.
Seems
Take
like
it
a pretty,
It's my birthday. I can
pretty,
do whatever the
pretty
hell I
big
want.
marketing mix. It's your birthday, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you can.
Gibby, Steph Curry fan, Warriors fan. There you go. Put
Who
that
knew
up. That'll be how you celebrate the birthday.
Are you getting did you
Dub
ask for
Nation.
a Warriors jersey for your birthday, Gibby?
Absolutely not. And by like the next day, I won't be. But for that night, I'm in. I'm all in. Is there a Warrior backer party somewhere in town?
Yeah, you're. He did. LeBron didn't do enough. 11 years and a title. He didn't do enough. He should have done more. Should have done more. Should have done more
Left us
during
high
that
and
time.
dry. Twice.
Shameful.
With a title.
Twice.
With a title.
High and
Came
dry.
back.
With a title.
Came back.
Banner.
Won a title.
Left us.
Banner. Yeah, won it.
I'll be
Won
here
it.
forever. No, you weren't.
He lied. It's an incredible. amount
Things
of vitriol.
change, Mox. People change.
Things.
Not this guy.
I don't want your life.
I don't.
All right. Jim Donovan, the voice, will join us. We'll check in on his thoughts on the schedule, his impressions of the rookie class. We'll see how his horses are doing. That's all coming up in a few minutes. Bishop and Lawrence. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. It is time to spring into action because Perfect Power Wash's schedule is filling up faster than ever, guys. Demand skyrocketing, you know that. Rising costs of home improvement materials, they are absolutely through the roof. It's a booming housing market. Go buy some lumber. You'll see the prices for yourself. I know you've seen the mold and mildew plaguing your neighborhood. Now stop neglecting your home. Refresh it. Don't replace it. Make it look beautiful again. Protect your biggest investment for them. It's crazy replacement costs with the help of the pros of Perfect Power Wash. I didn't wait around. I called at my house, roof, concrete, clean and protected. The process is very easy. Everything looks great. I'm enjoying my home now more than ever, rain or shine. It is the perfect time. Use the promo code BEAU. Get 10% off. Hurry in. The promo ends soon. So call the pros today at 888-860-WASH and refresh your home now. And with that, we head on the hotline for a visit with our good buddy Jim Donovan, of course, the voice of the Cleveland Browns. We'll get to all the football, but we always want to know what's going on out at the farm. Jim, what's happening, buddy?
It's a beautiful day out here, guys. It really is. We've dried out from all of that rain that we had a couple of weeks ago. Horses are great, nice. And I have spent the morning kind of out on the big tractor cutting the pastures, getting the pastures knocked down a little bit. It's really a beautiful day.
Is there anything better than the sense of accomplishment, Jim, of taking down a pasture and all, whether you hay it or not, just to see the accomplishment of that happening? It's fantastic.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, I thought I would feel accomplished by paying my taxes today, but not such a good feeling. No, the pastures was a much better feeling for me. You're right. You start out, and then all of a sudden at the end, you look back, take a look over your shoulder, and see what you've accomplished. That is a good feeling. That's a good feeling, Bill.
I love it. It's beautiful. It is great to hear. Great to hear. Jim, also, it was great on Friday to see you back here in Berea taking a look at our rookies for the first time in their uniforms, going through probably the strangest minicamp you or I have ever seen, where they don't even have enough people to play football, but some incredible one-on-one situations for our rookies and their position coaches out there. What were kind of your big takeaways?
Well, you're right. It was great seeing them out there and kind of seeing them in their new uniforms, because you watch all of those college highlight reels and they're in their college lore, and then finally you see them in their pro stuff with the Browns and the orange helmet, and that's a special moment for all of us, but even a greater special moment for them, I'm sure, because it's a whole new level of their life. They're now a professional football player. The thing that hit me, Nathan, was the ability, as we had a really good seat standing, in the back of the practice field there, but watching the Browns coaching staff and the one-on-one expertise that these players were getting and the tutorial that was going on is something that I hope those kids realize is just amazing. So, I mean, I'm watching, Anthony Schwartz, the wide receiver, and he's there with the kid from Ohio State, the former Buckeye Johnny Dixon, the tryout candidate coming in. And I'm watching Chad O'Shea work with those two guys, and in particular Schwartz, and I'm just saying, man, at the start of training camp or even during OTAs, or a mini camp, these young players, they're probably not going to get that one-on-one coaching that they got on Friday afternoon when we were out there, because you have all of these other players in, and it's a mess in numbers, and, you're doing it in position groups. But just in that afternoon, the ability to watch the Browns coaching staff really go to work with these individual guys, the offensive linemen, and, watching, Gregory Newsome and Owusu-Koramoa, and they're getting this one-on-one, expertise. It was fascinating to watch. It really was. And I think it really helps players like that.
Jim, you mentioned Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoa, and I think you can think about the room that he's going to be in that linebacker room. You can think about those defensive tackles. Nathan earlier in the show talked about how impressive McDowell was as just a human. Malik McDowell, how big he was. Marvin Wilson's a former 5-star guy out of Texas who played at Florida State, and then Tommy Togiai. And all of that talent is maybe for 2 spots, maybe one. Have you started to do the math? Nathan and I talk about it all the time, how hard it's going to be for people to make this team?
Yeah, it is. It's really going to be difficult, and that's a good thing, obviously. It shows that you're at a new level, that you have great depth and you've got great talent. The big thing that a lot of these players have going for them is that obviously this new regime for the Browns now, a couple of years into their second year. They've caught the eye of this group, and I think they're going to get a good, honest look. And I think that really you're probably seeing, Beau, kind of two levels when it's all put together. You're going to see the Browns of now, the team that is coming back from the 11-5 great year from last season, and how the expectations are so high for them coming into this season. And then you're going to see this younger group of players that are going to be ready at the calling, you hope, to go in and play, but they're not going to be shoved out onto the field before their time of really, truly being ready to play. Whereas, for many, many years, there were times on opening day when young players that were brought into the draft, and they could be really late draft picks for the Browns, they would be out there on opening day. And mind you, that's a great thing. That's a great experience, but they probably weren't ready to play. Or there's the other aspect of it, that on opening day for the Browns, when you would start the regular season, you would see guys that were just cut by their team on the last cut, and they would come in and they would be starting for the Browns on opening day, and they barely were around the Browns for a period of 48 hours or so, 72 hours, and suddenly they're on the field. Those days are over right now. There's I don't want to say a varsity and a junior varsity, but there's a now team, and then there's the team down the road that is constantly going to be, stocked well with replacements of guys that are going to go on the field, but more so when they're really ready to go on the field and needed at that time.
And it's going to be an incredible competition to get to be one of those guys. I think that, to try to break through and say, no, I can play now and help you now. And then for the others, just say, I deserve to be kind of, the next in line, and the way, as they would do it at an Ohio State, where they can just reload, and here comes the next wave of guys in. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoa, I got a chance to sit down with him. What an incredibly mature kid. He sounds like a coach already, gets it. I loved seeing him out there, his movement skills, etc. What do you hope for from Owusu-Koramoa, who probably is the one draft pick at a position that could step in really right away and have a major impact? Newsome obviously can win a starting job at corner as well, but he's the one guy that maybe fits what a lot of people thought was the biggest need, for the Browns.
Yeah, I think, Nathan, I think he's well trained to do this. I think when you go and play where he played at Notre Dame and how he was counted on at Notre Dame, and Notre Dame during his period of time went through kind of an evolution change where they got blown out in that national championship game against Alabama, and it was kind of a window into what they needed to do, and they needed to get players like him defensively with a lot more athleticism and speed to be able to play in the college football playoff, because they're going to go up against great talent from the SEC or the Clemsons of the world. And I think that he became that kind of player that represented, for a guy like Brian Kelly, the head coach at Notre Dame, okay, this is the kind of player we need to play at that level. And he did that, and he mastered it, and he became their defensive guy that when they needed a big play, both athletically and a thinking man's game where he can kind of see it, evaluate it, and get to it, I think he was the guy. I think Notre Dame counted on him to make those kind of plays. When they beat Clemson earlier this year in the regular season in South Bend, he made the big play, and a couple of them in that particular game. And so I think that just the experience of being that guy really serves him well coming into this situation, because I think that when you play at that level, and you're talking about Ohio State, and you're talking about Alabama and those likes, when you're at the real top of the food chain in college football, I know that the step to the NFL is big for everybody, but maybe not so much for those guys because they've been in that kind of a situation before. That's why Jedrick Wills was able to step in and play at the level and as well as he did last year at left tackle. So I think that, he is ready. I think that what I watched on Friday was extremely coachable and never makes the same mistake twice. And that will serve him well, too.
Yeah, it certainly will. It's a great point on those guys that play at those programs. We were talking about that earlier, just in terms of diet and the workout regimen that those guys have at those elite places. That, in a way, it's almost like the NFL from a responsibility standpoint off the field is kind of a step back, because you're not monitored all the time you are at a place like Notre Dame or Ohio State, Alabama, those type of places. So there all of a sudden you have free time kind of a little bit, which is interesting. Jim, I want to ask you about the schedule because obviously the NFL thinking quite highly of us in terms of the games that we had, where we have them, open them up with Kansas City, obviously the attention getter, the Christmas Day game against the Packers at Lambeau. When you saw the schedule, what are some things that jumped out to you? And as you play the schedule game, what did you think?
We all play it. You're right. The opening game is a wow game.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a Browns fan, it's a great game. If you're a Chiefs fan, it's a great game. But if you're an NFL fan, that is going to be a great game. I mean, and that's why it's that marquee CBS game on that Sunday afternoon, the opening Sunday at 4:25. It's got everything in it. It's got, a new, fresh rivalry because of what happened last year in the playoff game. You've got that rivalry that kind of extends into the college ranks when Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes played against each other in the classic game that they played against each other at Oklahoma and Texas Tech, and the story there, with Mayfield having, his college career starting at Texas Tech anyway. So you have that and how they're growing and how probably they're going to bump into each other a lot now. And so you hope that Baker can break through and get a win in the NFL landscape of playing against Patrick Mahomes. It reminds me, guys, though, and I want to see, I'm going to go into the way back when machine right now. This opening game reminds me so much of the Browns playing in 1985 and then moving into the 1986 season. 1985, they had a big lead at halftime against Miami down in the Orange Bowl against Dan Marino, and they faded in the second half. They couldn't throw the football, so they retooled and brought in Lindy and Fonnie and decided, hey, the forward pass is a pretty good thing. Mack and Biner are great, but we have Kozar. We're going to have to throw the ball. So they were going to dust off a brand-new offense in the opening game of the season in 1986, and they open up in Soldier Field against the defending Super Bowl champions and the greatest defense maybe ever, and the Chicago Bears. And they went in there, and nobody thought that they were going to be able to compete. Now, I don't think this is the same for the Browns going into Arrowhead Stadium this year, but it's on the same level. A lot of people thought, the Browns are going to go in there and they're just going to get massacred. And they went in there and they lost the game, but they played right to the final gun. I mean, they took Chicago right down to the last couple of minutes in the game and finally succumbed and lost the game. But when they left Chicago, I think that they definitely concretely knew we are good enough to play with anybody because we just played against the toughest defense ever. Lo and behold, they go 12-4, and they're the top seed in the AFC before bowing out in that epic game against Denver and John Elway in the AFC Championship game here in Cleveland. And this game kind of reminds me a little bit of that. I mean, how the Browns play in the game is going to be fascinating, and I think they can play Kansas City right to everything that the Chiefs are going to do at a very high level. But how they walk out of that game and how they feel about themselves and that how it sets them up for what I think will be two critical games when they come home after that against Houston and Chicago, that will be very, very important. And so it does have a little bit of a correlation, as I remember it, going back to the mid-'80s. And I know you guys had Bernie on a lot, and you could ask him this. I really think that game kind of set sail for the Browns that year and took them all the way deep into the playoffs.
I love it, and it's an opportunity, and I think we've talked a lot about how the Browns have had so much hype. You see, everybody looks at this roster. There are no holes on this roster. It's a complete roster. Well, how do you figure out a way to start the season with nobody believes in us? Well, you still start the season on the road against the two-time defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs, but you're right. I think that one could really launch some things there. What did you think of Baltimore Sunday night by Baltimore at home and what I think obviously could be a pretty critical stretch for this season?
Yeah, I think that is fascinating to play them that late and then bang, bang right after that to have your bye week, kind of sandwiched in between that. I think that just sets up as, from an outsider looking in, you say, well, there it is. That's probably where the AFC North title could be decided, and it sets up. I think it sets up kind of well for the Browns. I mean, to get them to play them on the Sunday night, and then to get the bye week, kind of get healthy again, kind of reassess, get ready for them again. I mean, I think that really plays well to them. But I think that this is when, and I think the networks realized it too, this is when this division probably, as we look at it right now on paper, could be decided. Coming down the stretch, when you turn the corner in late November and start heading into December, those games are monumental. And that's when division titles and home field advantage and opening round buys in the playoffs, that's when those are really decided. So that is going to be a fascinating stretch of time and really exciting. And I think that people will be, just glued to it, especially after what we saw in that Monday night game, the game of the year last year in the NFL, the Monday night game here in Cleveland, the best Monday night game they've had in decades. And I think that, that sets up to just be an incredible 2 football games. And then the Pittsburgh game in that Monday night game coming up, in the first couple of days of January, that will be something special too.
Yeah, and that comes on the heels of Christmas Day in Green Bay. And I remember going into the 2019 season when the Browns had all that hype, they front-loaded our schedule with primetime games. And then this year, they back-loaded our schedule with the primetime games. And I know people, for some reason, aren't counting Chris. When you're the only NFL game in town on television on a day of that magnitude, that is as primetime as it gets. When you saw that, what was the reaction in the Donovan household? It will be marquee, but it does not come without some tumult and difficulty, I would imagine.
I think it upped the value of Christmas gifts, and I think I got to, go a level higher, maybe.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that, anytime you go to Lambeau Field, and you can go in August, you can go the first preseason game when we have through the years. And it's just a bucket list place.
Yep.
It's just a great place. But Christmas Day, Nathan, I look at the schedule, and I say to myself, when some of these teams play the Browns, who will be the quarterback for the opposition?
Yeah.
When they play Houston, who will be the quarterback? When they play the Bears, who will be the quarterback? When they play New England, who will be the quarterback? When they play Green Bay, who will be the quarterback? That really is a storyline as you take a look at what's going on the Browns' schedule. I do believe this schedule, and of course, the team is really looking so strong. But I think the schedule has some built-in winning streaks in it, which I know you have to play the game.
Sure.
But I think considering the level of talent and the expectation and coming off last year, I think there are a couple of points in the season early and in the middle where the Browns could really get on a run and really start stringing together some wins if they play the way that we all believe they can play.
We're going to steal that. That's a fun gimmick. Guess the quarterback that who will be playing
I like
quarterback
that.
when we play them. I like that.
That's a show.
Jim, I'll get you out of here on this one because it's something, and I'm curious your answer to this. It happens to me. All I am is some dope on the radio. You're the voice of the Browns.
That's right.
Consistently, family comes up to me and says, well, what do you think of the Browns? And I say, well, I think we have a top 3 or 4 roster in the league. I think we had a tremendous draft, and I think we're a Super Bowl contender. And they shudder. Just shut your mouth, Beau. Don't even talk like that.
Don't jinx it.
That?
Yes.
Don't jinx it. You
Don't
get that
jinx it.
constantly. Do you get that, Jim? And how do you handle it?
Yeah, you get it everywhere. You really do, no matter where you go. And people come up to you, and they're very, very excited, but they're cautious. They really are. I would call it, that they're not gun shy. I'm going to be kind and say they're, cautiously optimistic. I'm a little bit more than that. I get the feeling you guys are too, because we're so close to them, and we know everything about them from the inside and what we see on Sundays. And I think that there's a lot more legitimacy to what we see on that roster and how it's going to play out. Now there are all kinds of things that can go into it, but I think the way they are walking into the season, this is the strongest Cleveland Browns team that I can remember, and that even goes back to the Kosar years. When I first got here, it really is top to bottom the strongest Cleveland Browns team that I can remember. And that's a great feeling. At least at this point on May 17th, that's all you can ask for. But that's a pretty good thing to ask for around this town.
Yeah, it certainly is. A great pleasure having you on, sir. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Always great, guys. Have a great week.
All right, that's our great friend Jim Donovan. Still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, we'll get to Jason Lock and for his quarterback tiers here in just a second. But we did want to get to this, and that is Marv Albert retiring after this year's Eastern Conference Finals on TNT. He's approaching 80. Is he not? Isn't he like 77? He'd have to be. He's done 55 years.
No, he was born in 1941. He will turn 80 on June the 12th.
There you go.
Less than a month.
Incredible run.
Yeah.
He, to me, is synonymous with, obviously, the NBA.
Of course.
And Jordan and the Knicks. I mean, those are when I think of Marv Albert, I just think of Jordan and the Knicks.
I think of Ewing. Absolutely.
Yep.
All the Knicks. I would not have had this. He called the play-by-play of 8 Super Bowls?
Yeah, Westwood won, right? Was he radio?
Radio. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That makes it
radio.
Easier for me to understand how I would have not recalled one of those.
Right.
Okay. That makes me feel a little bit better.
No, he was
would not have had that.
It was radio. And so when you think about so Gibby wants to know he's one of your top 5 play-by-play guys ever. I think it is very rare. I view him in 2 different ways. I think there are the Nance, Buck, Costas. Who else is in the Nance Buck world? Who am I missing? That they're the guys
Al
who are
Michaels.
like the face of the network guys. Well, I don't know that I'd put Al in that. I think Al is the football play-by-play voice of my life. Him and Pat Summerall.
Okay.
Like but I don't know that they're like face it like. For example, would Al Michaels host an Olympic Games? No, he probably wouldn't. He does football. He did baseball forever. Obviously did hockey. Nance would do that. Costas would do that. Buck would do that. Joe Buck would host the U.S. Open and then do play-by-play at the World Series. So those guys are like face of the network guys. In terms of true play-by-play, Marv is, for me, would absolutely be and would be the synonymous voice with basketball in my life.
Yeah.
Mike Breen in recent years, certainly. Kevin Harlan, I think of, but not like Marv.
And I will just admit, as I've gotten older, like I watched a lot more basketball then when it was Marv's era. I mean, Marv would be Marv to me and had more staying power, but he was kind of the Pat Summerall of my youth, but he lasted longer into my, college years, et cetera, than Pat did.
Right. And the other thing that Marv benefited from is that TNT had the Western Conference Finals all these years.
Yep.
For 20 years. So a lot of times that was Lakers Spurs or Lakers Kings or that almost felt like the finals was an afterthought. It was who's coming out of the West. And so he would have, and it would be him and Reggie Miller and Chris Webber. A lot of times like that, some combination of that group would have those games. And forever it felt like that he had that too. So even when he was not the finals voice, no longer when it left NBC and went to ABC and ESPN, and Mike Breen, I'm pretty sure got it almost right away. Even when that happened, he was still doing Western Conference Finals. And he was still on, the TNT West Coast games a lot of times in the Shaq Kobe Laker era. So you had him, through that kind of carried through years. I mean, he would be my basketball choice. Dick Stockton was the voice of the finals when I was a kid. Lakers Celtics was Dick Stockton and Tommy Heinsohn.
He didn't reach though for me the levels of Marv. Like I have a ton of distinctive Marv calls, not necessarily from moments, but just his trait. Yes, Ewing, all those things where I wouldn't have a Dick Stockton. That's not at the top of my brain. This is an iconic Dick Stockton call.
Oh, no. In fact, the only thing that you'd likely remember from that, if like me, you were a Lakers fan growing up, is that the guy who did the regular season Celtics games did color for the NBA Finals. Like Tommy Heinsohn worked Celtic games and then did the finals, Lakers Celtics. And I'm like, gosh, he sure seems like he likes Fred Roberts a lot. And it was, because he knew Fred Roberts.
That's right.
Is why that was happening. There actually was bias. So he would be my basketball guy. My football guy would be Michaels because Summerall has been away for so long. So it probably would be Al. I mean, it would have been Summerall 15 years ago because I watched so much NFC football when I was a kid.
Same.
But he hasn't. It's been 15 years, right?
I mean, it's gotten to the point for me that Nance is just the guy, right? I mean, if you think about CBS, Super Bowls, March Madness, things I still consume, Masters. He has become, and I feel, how long has he been the guy there? I mean, it feels like 20 years.
So he was in the booth at the '86 Masters.
Wow.
So he's in his 20s. He gets that job. I mean, Joe Buck got the job in his 20s too.
Right.
Like they got those jobs early and they just had them forever.
Forever.
And Nance, I mean, the idea that every 3 or 4 years he does the Super Bowl, the Final Four, and the Masters in a 2-month span is just a remarkable thing.
Incredible. Al Michaels is also when we got to talk to him that was such a treat that day when he was here. Just incredible.
Yeah.
So gracious.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's obviously been in amazing, cultural moments.
Lest we forget.
That was
just unbelievable. But the other thing with Michaels, it's interesting too, and it's been forever, but I still remember him mostly from Monday Night Football.
Yep.
With Deardorff and Gifford, because Monday Night Football was the game when I was a kid. Like that was the game. It wasn't Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football was the game, and he was on it. So he went from there to Sunday night, and so he's probably done my guess is he's done the most sporting events that have been the number one rated sport, television show of the week. He's probably done more of those than anybody, because Sunday Night Football is most of the time, and Monday Night Football, when they did it, was most of the time. In terms of prime time sporting event,
yep,
those were the two things and he's been on that for 40 years.
Yeah, and I remember Monday night was so the game. And in fact, back then, the Monday night halftime highlights were really the only way to see anything else that happened in the NFL. I mean,
that's right.
If you would have told young Gibbe, Beau, and Nathan that in not that long of time, not that distant of future, you would put a dish on the top of your house, and that dish would receive TV from space, from a satellite, and that you would have the option to watch every single NFL game that was happening around the country, all of them. You could watch anyone you wanted.
Yeah, everyone.
What are you talking about?
No chance. You got 3 games on Sundays.
We watched last night with my kids The Karate Kid because I want to watch Cobra Kai.
Original?
The original. It holds up incredibly well. It's great. Both kids at the end when he hits the crane kick, I had hands in the air, celebrations. Sure. I mean, it's great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hadn't probably watched it start to finish in easily. I don't think since they were born, easily a decade. Loved it. But, you're seeing the scenes where, she's writing down her address for him to pick her up. And I said to my kids, there weren't cell phones. There wasn't Google Maps.
Right.
Like,
Google Maps.
You had to get somebody on their home phone when they were home. You had to take a map or write down the turn-by-turn directions to get to their house.
That's right.
I said, there's no internet.
Yeah.
None of it.
No.
They're like, it's hard for them to get their head around. There weren't cell phones, because she said, well, why doesn't he just call her? He can't.
He can't?
He can't call her.
No, it doesn't work that way. Those are always nervy moments when you would call the girl for the first time and pray to God like a parent didn't pick up. I mean, that was always the worst. And then reciprocal, like when a girl would call, I would just shudder. Like as soon as I heard a phone ring, and there was no caller ID, there's nothing, so you never knew it was roulette. And as soon as I would hear just any semblance, I would just mad dash. My God, Dad, don't pick up the phone, please, God.
Oh, and if
don't
you
let
got,
my dad pick up
I know
the phone.
that there are people who, if a dad answers, it's an auto hang up, because there was no caller ID, so it wasn't me. I didn't do that. So I created. Do you guys remember Popcorn? Does that ring a bell to you? So
no.
You used to be able to dial on your phone. Popcorn was the letters, and you do whatever numbers corresponded to those letters. And that would give you, they'd be like, at the tone, it's 12:18 and 10 seconds. It was just a number that you call to get the actual time, because your phones weren't set to the real time. Clocks weren't set it wasn't automatically updating to the real times.
No.
You didn't have that at your fingers.
Right.
So popcorn was a thing that you could call, and it would give you at the tone, this is the time. So you could set, that's how you set your clocks in your house.
Yeah. Okay.
It also, if you knew when a call was coming in, you called popcorn, and then you'd get the call waiting beep. Seamless. Nobody knew calls were coming in.
Oh.
Then you talk to your lady friend.
Because
you have to get
Pedro
around
knows none the
Pedro.
better.
Pedro's all over you. So I had to come up
he's
with.
like a hound dog.
I had to, we'd have you're called this time. A minute, like 30 seconds before that, I'm calling popcorn. I'm hearing, okay, I know exactly what time it is. Thanks at the beep, beep. And then you hear the sweet, boom, boom, the little call waiting. And then there you are. Oh, hello. How are you? Pleasure.
You getting Pedro off the scent is incredible. Like, you had to outsmart him in every
Had
turn.
to.
He's so formidable.
Had to.
So formidable.
I wonder if popcorn exists
Yeah, he's
anymore,
nuts.
like from a landline. I wonder if it's even still a thing.
I don't know. I
You
don't know
don't
that
need
many
it?
people have landlines, to be honest. Yeah,
I
don't
haven't
know.
had a landline in decades.
Yeah. All right, coming up next, Jason Lockenfora with his quarterback tiers column. We will tell you where our guy is coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for my friends at WeatherSeal Home Services. Are you having problems with your roof? Call WeatherSeal Home Services now and get a beautiful new roof in 1 week for $1 down. Free gutters during the WeatherSeal Spring Roofing Sale. 1 week, $1. Free gutters. At WeatherSeal, you can also get up to 7 years, 0 interest with approved credit, reducing your monthly payment. An incredible win. Trust in WeatherSeal to do the job right for the best price and the lowest monthly payments. It's that simple. Don't hesitate. Don't call anyone else. Call 877-351-SEAL or go to WeatherSealHomeservices.com. That's 877-351-SEAL or go to WeatherSealHomeservices.com. Gibby, we have a question here from a listener that needs some guidance from the bees here.
Yeah, we need more wedding advice. Our good friend.
Oh, I love it. Let's go.
Good listener of the show, Rick Amador. Congratulations on his nuptials over the weekend. I saw a few photos.
Oh, congratulations!
What a beautiful weekend for a little wedding. This one at Kid White WYTE 11. Hey guys, I'm leaving Wednesday to get married in Hawaii. Must be nice. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, our resort will not be offering beverages on site. I think you need to second guess your choice of venues.
That's interesting.
Which means I'll need to be like Tom Cruise in Cocktail. I need appropriate drink recipes.
Cow.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. I have some questions on the beverages.
How can the resort not be providing alcohol?
I don't know.
Listen, it's going to end up from a financial standpoint. It's going to end up in a good. It's going to be a big win for him.
Oh,
he's going to end up. He can buy some fun experiences on this trip because he's going to be doing just fine. $20 a drink turns out adds up real fast.
Now.
Yeah, totally.
You can
right.
go parasailing.
Yeah,
enjoy yourself.
Yeah, this sunset cruise, earn some of those romance points. Yeah, you're living now.
Another day at the spa.
Perhaps.
Run it back. No couples massage for everybody.
Yes,
I mean,
right.
Geez.
$20 a drink versus
pina
$20
coladas.
a bottle is a big difference.
Yeah. My recommendation here would be to find, like, you're going to drink tequila. Let's be honest. Like, that's what you need to drink is tequila because you can do a lot with it.
Boy,
you can do margs with it. You can do it on the rocks.
Yep.
I know you like your habanero margs, or you can do that with your tequila on the rocks. There's so many things you can do with it. You can do it if you want to do it like a Bloody Mary. You can do it that way. It's delicious.
Maria.
So
sure.
There you go. See, there's just so many options to it that I would go get a really nice Añejo tequila, and I would, and honestly, you don't even need that much from a mixer standpoint. You could do, as long as you have fresh limes, and
fresh
probably
maybe, if you like
fresh jalapenos if you want. You could do orange juice. You can get yourself to a margarita pretty quickly with a little Cointreau. That would set that off. It's pretty quick.
A bottle of Añejo for a good one. That's your sipping tequila, right? That's on the rocks with the lime you're talking. I'd also get the Terramana brand, the rocks brand, is incredibly affordable. I think it's like $27 for the Blanco, and it's quite good. The Reposado's $32, and it's excellent. Grab a bottle of Terramana.
Have you had them? I haven't had them yet.
Yeah. I'm very impressed.
Have you?
Very impressed. Grab a bottle of the Blanco, and you can also, if you were trying to be healthy, one of the great things for not only for your body, but for a good time and all of that, is a Blanco tequila with a kombucha ends up making a lovely beverage. Get a watermelon kombucha, get a pineapple kombucha, you get any kind of these flavors.
Sure.
Plus, that's something. It's a very popular drink. The ladies love that one. You kind of get the bubbles. It almost turns into like a tequila champagne cocktail, if you will. Very nice.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, yeah.
Sure.
And then the other thing I would say is if you're a beer guy, you're going to probably want to go buy. I'm like, Kona is a great. I see that every once in a while around here. I've never been to Hawaii, but I have had the Kona Golden Lager a few times, or Golden Ale. I'm not sure what it is, but that's a very tasty one to have. And you can do that the same way. You can do that with rocks with a lime. You can do that if you want to go with Bloody Mary mix with that and mix that and that, and you got a bloody beer. I would be for versatility is what I would try to do. Now, this is all from my point of view, not the point of view necessarily of your lady friend. So if your lady friend doesn't like tequila, well, then you're going to have to get into some rum situations or some vodka situations is what you're looking at there. That would be probably the way that goes. I never think about drinking wine at like an island. Like that never is something I think about. A white tablecloth dinner, sure, I would. But I don't know. Like I don't think I would have a glass of wine in the islands.
I don't. But it's if you're making a run here, It's not a bad idea to have a couple chilled bottles of rosé, for a little afternoon. Certainly the lady probably enjoy a nice glass of crisp rosé while you're swinging in your hammock under the palm trees. There's nothing wrong with that. But right, you're not buying a heavy red.
No.
I
think that he's going to be able to, with these recommendations, and I think this is a great point out of the Big Z there, because that's the real win, is that you're going to spend no more than $200-300 on liquor at the liquor store. Now I don't know what
and that means
like
you're
in
balling
life.
for
and that's really getting after it.
Yeah.
But
you just spend that in a
day.
That's
$50 bottle of tequila. But
I'm
assuming that the prices over there are more. Like
even
my guess
so.
is.
The Rock doesn't want to gorge the people of Hawaii. It's where he's got his start.
Yeah, there's no way that you're going. I mean, any resort I've been to, like a margarita order, especially if you ask for a specific type of tequila, is $26.
Yes.
I mean, that's book it. A beer is 11 or
yes.
15. I mean, you are going to come out way ahead, brother.
Yeah, this is huge. This is great because now they can't prohibit you from bringing it on the property. They're not willing to get it.
It's a big win.
It's a huge win.
Do what you showed me that Yeti backpack thing that you had. I went and bought one after I saw you with it. I thought that thing's a win. You get yourself one of those and you're set.
Pop it right
Forget
down. Yeah, and now you can get another spa treatment. You can go on the sunset cruise. That's right. You can swim with the dolphins.
Snorkeling.
Whatever you want. It's all on the table now. It's free.
Chopper ride.
It's
free.
Hawaii.
Chopper. It's house money.
House money. It's free. Yeah.
Still so much to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If you're injured at work, call the Workers' Compensation Lawyers at 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Tomorrow on the program, we'll get into those quarterback tiers from Jason La Canfora. Also, Nathan's exclusive one-on-one with top draft choice Greg Newsome.
Yeah.
What are some of the highlights of that the people have to look forward to there, Z?
I think, again, a very energetic, likable kid, very confident kid, and somebody who I think has I feel like it's interesting to say for a first-round pick, but I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I really do. I think that there's a little – he wants to prove very much that he is really, really good, and everybody who did not pick him in the top 25 made a mistake. He'll do it for the Browns. I think it worked out for us.
Yeah, it did. It was fun to see him running around in the numbers. It was fun to see the league. Did you see the comments from Najee Harris on Friday? They cracked me up. Did you see this?
No.
So, all right. So he's at a press conference with the Steelers press corps, right?
Yep.
And they ask him about a one-handed play that he made in the practice, and he had another great catch, and you can see that he is confused by the questioning. And he said,
90 seconds.
You were there? And they said, yeah, we were there. He's like, where? I thought you were boosters. Because at Alabama, you can't watch practice.
Wow.
So from his perspective,
that's hilarious.
This is the first time that the
friends
media
of the program. They had to be friends of the program.
Friends of the program could watch practice in college. In the NFL, all this stuff's open. In college, not.
Wow.
Great. He's really likable. I know we got to dislike him because he's a Steeler, but he's a really likable
respect
kid.
him. Build up your opponent, then when you beat him, it's that much sweeter.
Yeah. You think about what he did with the homeless, where he grew up in the Bay Area, and going back there and having his draft party there, and he's already gotten involved in Pittsburgh.
30.
Impressive kid, and that was really, really funny line. The difference between Alabama and the Pittsburgh Steelers.